In the middle of the 20th century, in a Manhattan art gallery, a sequence of discoveries began to unfold when a study of a bearded old man was purchased by one of America's most prominent business leaders. Thomas Mellon Evans was a cousin of Pittsburgh's Mellon banking family, and he was expanding his prominent art collection and hunting for little gems. The gallery sold the painting to Evans as a work created in the studio of Rembrandt, and quite possibly from the hand of the master himself. And Evans proudly displayed the work, never fully knowing the origin of its creation. Rembrandt's paintings, especially his history paintings, were prized amongst an ever-expanding Dutch merchant class, whose newly found affluence resulted from the enormous profits they made in international trade. These important buyers brought Rembrandt incredible financial success, and that afforded him the luxury of maintaining a studio of many artists to help him meet the demand for his work. During the contemporary restoration of Rembrandt's studio, art historians began to get a picture of studio practice, of how students were compelled to copy his paintings and replicate his style, certainly for study and quite possibly for sale. Deciding what is an authentic Rembrandt and what is not has been confounded by the fact that not all paintings by Rembrandt were signed, and conversely, it was a Rembrandt studio practice to have students sign paintings with his signature. Rembrandt encouraged them to take liberties in their copying of his work, but the changes between a student's copy and the original masterwork were often so subtle that it has baffled scholars for centuries as to the authenticity of certain works. Sometimes students might copy a particular scene by painting it as a reverse image. They'd keep the main dramatic elements intact as they attempt the difficult task of matching Rembrandt's extraordinarily delicate play of light and characterization in their continuous effort to contribute to the vast output of the Rembrandt studio. As a result, the confusion as to what makes a Rembrandt painting authentic has plagued art historians for over 100 years. This has been further complicated by Rembrandt's constantly changing style and experimentation, particularly in his early career as an artist. Because of all the controversy and uncertainty surrounding so many paintings, the Dutch government set up a committee at the University of Amsterdam during the 1960s. It was called the Rembrandt Research Project, and its mandate was to try to validate the over 1,000 works that a variety of scholars believed to have been painted by Rembrandt. The team developed their own aesthetic criteria, and they reduced the number of paintings that they classified as genuine Rembrandts to about 300. They relegated the other works, classifying them as either student paintings or just plain copies. And that caused them to de-attribute many of the paintings held in museums. Paintings such as The Falconer in the National Gallery of Copenhagen, The Philosopher Reading in the Louvre, and The Polish Rider in the Frick Collection in New York. Both The Polish Rider and The Falconer have now been reattributed, designated as authentic by the Rembrandt Research Project director, Ernst van de Wetering.
Nobody likes it, to accept that The Polish Rider is not by Rembrandt, and then hearing, yes, but now they say it is by Rembrandt. I'm very embarrassed about that. And the question of attribution, disattribution, and reattribution has to do with the fact that in the beginning we believed very much in science, but then we got quite disappointed in science because you need lots and lots of data before it becomes productive. And so then, especially the older members of the team, they fell back with their experience with Rembrandt on connoisseurship.
Connoisseurship what Thomas Hoving described as the art historian's nose, an instinct fueled by a lifetime of looking, enabling him to use his breadth of knowledge to sift through visual clues. The execution of details, such as a ring or decoration of a piece of clothing, dramatic composition, the handling of specific models in a scene, historical data gleaned from etchings and studio drawings. And all of this, coupled with information about an artist's inventory, his personal notes and correspondence, kinds of paints and brushes that he used in his established studio practice. All these clues can be combined in the sensory perceptors in the mind of a connoisseur in order to support his decision for an attribution or not.
There was also the idea that too many paintings were attributed to Rembrandt, so there was an implicit reductionist approach. When you have studied enough of these works in progress, so to say, you get a feeling of how that mind in combination with the hand worked a bit better than looking at the surface and having the idea of recognizing, ah, yes, that's him, or that's not him.